Ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding for the worship for the Mayor of Gravesham.
Good evening, everyone. If I could ask you to stay upstanding for the Mayor's chaplain to say the prayer, please.
Well, good evening. Just a little reflection, just to lead into our prayer. If you've been in some of our local shops of late, you will notice it's that time of year again, isn't it, where scary masks, cloaks, and other ghoulish items are on sale. So it does make me ponder a little bit about what metaphorical masks we wear in life. What roles that we hold in our lives can often make us feel that we have to wear a mask that maybe puts on a little bit of a front or makes us behave in a certain way. But we hear in Scripture, St. Paul's first letter to the Corinthians, by the grace of God, I am what I am. Therefore, God does not want us to put on masks and attempt to be someone else or feel that we have to be someone different to fit with a particular role in life. So God calls all of us to be ourselves. So as a huge chunk of society has fun on Halloween, the church prefers to focus on the following 2 days. All Saints on the 1st, where we remember the saints that have gone before us who were so inspirational. And then on the 2nd of November is All Souls Day, where we remember our own departed loved ones who have inspired us and are very much missed in our lives. And I know after my prayer, we will have a minute's silence for someone you know. So as I pray for you all now and for what is on your agenda this evening, I pray tonight that your meeting will be full of more treats than tricks. And do ponder what masks you feel you may sometimes wear in life. If you do they help you to be yourself more? And if not, how can that change? Let us pray. So, dear Lord, bless our meeting here this evening. Give us your wisdom, your guidance, and your grace, particularly with any difficult decisions that need to be made. And Lord, give us that ability to listen more when there are differences of opinions. And we pray for all the people that we serve here in our borough. And we especially pray for those in great need and need our help. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. And if I could ask you all to remain standing to remember Caroline Shelton, who died at the beginning of the summer, was a very effective counsellor and indeed an extremely kind person. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Just before we start the business of tonight's meeting, someone in this chamber has a birthday today, which is Councillor Deborah Croxton. And I thought it might be rather nice if we all sang happy birthday to her. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Debs. Happy birthday to you. You're very welcome. Thank you for indulging me in that. Do always with birthdays, let me know in advance, won't you? Right, back to business. So the first thing I've got to do is to read the live streaming announcement. So everyone, and welcome to this meeting of Gravesham Council. And I tend to go through some housekeeping matters. Sorry, I've gone off script. That will teach me. This meeting is being live streamed via YouTube and recorded. The recording will be uploaded to YouTube within 2 working days, where it can be accessed by everyone. Members, please use the microphone in front of you when talking and ensure you turn your microphone off once you have finished speaking. Another member or officer will not be able to speak if your microphone is still on. Please note that the Council's visual equipment may, on some occasions, focus on or near to the public gallery area. Therefore, those in attendance at this meeting may be filmed or recorded. Attendance at this meeting signifies your agreement to this. If, as a member of the public, you do not wish to be filmed or recorded, please inform a council staff member in attendance and we will try to assist where reasonably possible. On hearing the fire alarm, we ask all attendees to immediately evacuate the building. Please evacuate via the nearest fire exits and make your way to the community square outside for the main reception desk. Thank you, everyone. So, are there apologies for absence, please, Chief Executive?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So apologies have been received from Councillor Baines, Hare, Giselle, Larkins, Pearton, Rana, Sizer and Ectavine Tandy.
Thank you. We need to sign the minutes of the previous meeting, if everyone's agreed to that. Agreed, excellent. I did preempt it. Mustn't say that, must I? So the next item is to declare any interest members may have in the items contained on this agenda. When declaring an interest, a member must state what their interest is. If I may just turn to the Chief Executive.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So as is convention, just to inform members, we will automatically take into account any relevant declarations that have already been made on the DPI form. So it would just be new declarations this evening that you would need to make.
Thank you. Now, item 5, to answer any questions received from members of the public, of which notice has been given under Council Procedure Rule 13. A question has been received from Tina Brooker. There you are, Tina. And Tina is coming to the microphone just here on my right. So the floor is yours, Tina, when you're ready.
Thank you. Good evening. My question for Council is about the local government reorganisation being sold by central government as devolution. Councils have effectively been forced by central government to abolish themselves. If it were truly devolution, surely councils would have been given a choice and the people a voice. This has not been the case. The first devolution, the Localism Act 2011, is a UK law devolving power from central government to local councils, communities and individuals, empowering them to make more decisions, which has been willfully ignored. My questions are as follows. 1. Does this council agree with this self-abolition? 2. Were the public consulted? 3.1. What is option 5 that Gravesham and Dartford have chosen? Please summarise for the public. And 3.2. How much is KPMG being paid from the public purse to work up this proposal? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
May I call on the leader of the council?
Thank you, and thank you for the question. In answering the question, the first question was, does the council agree with this self-abolition? The response to that is the council agrees with the creation of new unitary authority councils which will provide a simpler framework of local government for our residents, as they would then only need to deal with one council in each area rather than two. We would hope that these changes are brought in at the same time as devolution and the creation of mayoral strategic authorities, with a directly elected mayor providing greater powers and money to deliver growth and opportunity within the wider region. The second question was, have the public been consulted? To answer that, to ensure local voices are central to the process, a coordinated county-wide programme of public and stakeholder engagement was carried out between the 8th of September and the 6th of October this year. This proactive engagement aligned with the Minister of Housing, Communities and Local Government guidance and reflected Kent's political commitment to meaningful community involvement. A standardised resident survey agreed across all 14 councils, capture views on local identity, service expectations and future priorities. Alongside this, a stakeholder programme involved outreach to key organisations across sectors, with each council engaging its own networks, including town and parish councils, voluntary groups and businesses. Insights from both the survey and stakeholder discussions have directly informed the development of the business case and continue to guide local decision making. Further engagement will take place and regular updates given via a dedicated website for reorganisation in Kent, kentcouncilleaders.org.uk. Question 3 was, what is option 5 the Gravesham and Dartford councils have chosen? In answering that, option 5 would see 5 unitary authorities within the Kent geography. The first one would be Dartford, Gravesham, the parts of Medway west of the River Medway and south to Snodland, and Swanley. The second authority area would be Sevenoaks, excluding Swanley, Tunbridge and Malling, Tunbridge Wells and Maidstone. The remainder of Medway and the southwestern part of Swale, the Sittingbourne area, would be the third authority area. The fourth authority would be the remainder of Swale, which is the Faversham area, Canterbury and Thanet, and the fifth authority area will be Ashford, Folkestone and Hythe and Dover. Third, the second part of question 3 was, how much is KPMG being paid from the public purse to work up this proposal? The answer to that is the cost of this work is £106,000, which will be shared equally between Dartford Borough Council and Gravesham Borough Council. Similar costs are being met by other authorities within the county, such as Medway Unitary Authority and Kent County Council, where these authorities are progressing their own business case proposals for the future structure of local government within the county of Kent. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Leader. Right, I think we move on now to the minutes of committees. So first of all, we have 6A, H and I, minutes of the meeting of Cabinet held on Monday the 23rd of June, Monday the 8th of September and Monday the 29th of September. We have a proposer, please.
Pleased to move, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
Pleased to second, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Those are agreed. Moving on. 6B, E and I. Minutes from the meeting of Finance and Audit held on Tuesday the 1st of July, Tuesday the 15th of July and Tuesday the 16th of September. Do I have a proposer, please?
Pleased to move, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And do I have a seconder?
Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hart. Moving on, we have 6G, C, K, minutes of the meeting of planning held on Wednesday the 2nd of July, Wednesday the 30th of July and Wednesday the 24th of September. Do we have a proposer, please?
Pleased to move, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Croxton. Thank you, Councillor Tandy. We move on to 6D and J, minutes of the meeting of overview and scrutiny held on Thursday the 3rd of July and Thursday the 18th of September. Do we have a proposer, please?
Pleased to move, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Mead.
Pleased to second, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Croxton. 6F, minutes of the meeting of the Standards Committee held on Thursday the 17th of July. Do we have a proposer, please? think we have a proposer, do we, Councillor Rolls?
Yes, pleased to move, Mr. Mayor.
I
Madam
know
Mayor.
it's a wee bit warm in here tonight. Do we have a seconder?
Pleased to second, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Milner. And that, I think, hopefully brings us to the end of the minutes. Then we move on to item 7, reserved minutes, to receive and adopt the proceedings, reports and recommendations of committees contained in the list of items reserved under Council Procedure Rule 5.2.6 and to ratify the orders made by them. So we move on to Cabinet, Monday the 23rd of June, minutes of the Gravesham Joint Transportation Board, and I call on Councillor Deborah Croxton, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As Chair of Joint Transportation Board, excuse me, I am concerned about the lack of Kent County Council support at the Joint Transportation Board meetings. At the first meeting, only 2 Kent County councillors were present. At the last meeting on the 27th of August, only 3 were present. To date, no vice chair has been identified by Kent County Council for the Joint Transportation Board for Gravesham. However, I have learnt Dartford Joint Transportation Board had a Kent County Council appointed vice chair from their very first meeting. The second thing I would like to bring to attention is I would like to encourage ward councillors to report roads of disrepair. At the last meeting, councillors Milner and Bunger, who are not members of the committee, were invited to discuss their report on the roads in Town Ward. I do expect other borough ward councillors to make similar representation. However, for whatever reason, Kent County Council councillors seem to be reluctant to attend and take these issues forward. The Joint Transportation Board has serious issues related to the safety of the public on highways and taking these issues forward. But this requires the active support of elected Kent County Council members to reduce fatalities and encourage the safety of all our residents. Another ongoing issue is, of course, the closure of Galley Hill. Although not within Gravesham, it does form a vital link between Gravesham and Dartford and severely handicaps movement of residents in both boroughs. Kent County Council seems unwilling to take ownership and seek a resolution to this dilemma. Therefore, I urge and invite all elected Kent County Council members on this board to be present and contribute to discussions. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Croxton. Anybody else wishing to speak? I've been whisking. Thank you. Councillor Hills.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to say a few words in support of Councillor Croxton's remarks, because I find that some 70% of my casework deals primarily with either Kent Highways or Kent County Council, including, I may say, the disgraceful delay in dealing with Galley Hill. And I do agree with Councillor Croxton that it's much more helpful and much more efficient and much more likely to get something done if residents themselves, in addition to raising matters with a local councillor, also raise matters with Kent Highways, where they'll get a reference, and it makes it much easier for me and other councillors to take up matters on their behalf. I also have suffered over the years, especially when I chaired the Joint Transportation Board, in trying to get responses from Kent County Council. It almost makes one despair at trying to get things done from time to time. And therefore, I do entirely agree with Councillor Croxton, and I would expect and hope that all of the councillors, regardless of party political persuasion, would also agree and support with what she said. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hills. Any more? Oh, Councillor Aslan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I just also want to reiterate and support what Councillor Croxton has said, because I think it's very important for the residents to expect roads they can drive their cars on and safety There are many, many issues, and we do expect the councillors also, the local councillors, to raise issues and to bring them forward. So I really do welcome that, and I'm sure you'll be hearing from me very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Aslay. Any more points? Councillor Mockery-Cox, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, and thank you to Councillor Croxton for raising this issue. It's great to see that, you know, at the heart of all of this, we are here to represent our constituents on whatever issues, and I think this is one of the key issues we get, no matter where we are in the borough. And I think, given that there's been an extra £50 million for potholes that's just been given to the Highways Authority, I'm looking forward to a lot of the issues that residents raised with us actually being fulfilled now. And I think, you know, it is a safety issue, as others have raised. We want roads that are safe for people to be on, and it's been underinvested in such a long period of time that I think we need to have this investment into our borough. But I agree also about the frustrations I think we all experience trying to get answers in regards to some of these issues from the Highways Authority. And I just wanted to put on record, I suppose, Madam Mayor, my tribute to the officers of this authority who work very hard to try and get those answers on our behalf. And I'm sure they are equally as frustrated, although one wouldn't speak on their behalf, in trying to help us represent our constituents in that manner, but trying the best to make sure we can get what we can from KCC in this regard. So I'm hopeful that the relationship will improve. The money is certainly there, so I hope we will be able to see some success in this in due course. Thank you, Madam.
Is there anybody else who wishes to speak before I call on the leader to wind up? No? Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Leader.
Thank you. On this particular item, I'm standing really to ask that we recognise this is a committee, it's a partnership between Gravesham Borough Council and Kent County Council. I say it's a partnership because it should be a genuine one, where we work together to solve problems on highways. Highways is something that we both have an effect on. The council can do things on highways in the way of parking enforcement, and we put on in the lines that people want, or indeed remove them. We are the ones that take the petitions, we forward them on, and we try and get Kent County Council then to do something about it. Kent County Council then, in theory, would take that up and do something. Deal with the potholes, deal with the enforcement issues. It's a genuine partnership, should be. That's actually a good example why having one unitary authority will probably end up being better, because instead of having a split function, it will be one council that you can go to. If you're not happy with what's happening, if you're not happy with the answers you're getting, then you'll get one point to go to. At the moment, with the joint arrangement, it is very difficult. It is a legal requirement that we have this partnership. It's not something that we choose to have, which is nice to do. There is a legal requirement, it is there. And it's a function of Kent they must step up to and function and do and serve and send officers to. I know the last administration down in Kent, prior to the last elections, their Director of Corporate Services actually instructed officers not to attend meetings. She didn't think they mattered. They could do it remotely. I think that was wrong. I think as councillors, doesn't matter what your politics are, you deserve to have an officer at your meeting to answer your questions on highways. And that's the least we should be getting from them. And we need to do that. If we're going to represent local people, we need to be able to go to the key officers who have that function to actually say, we are not happy with what's happening. This is what we think should be happening after talking with our residents. Can you look at it? Can you do something about it? Can you report back? That's not a great request, really, to ask them to do something that helps our residents. Our residents don't care about the politics in this room. What they care about, in highways terms, is their roads, is their payments, is their traffic enforcement. And that committee deals with all of that. But what we need to do is work together in partnership between Kent and the borough to get things moving. And I would pick up the point Councillor Hill, you quite rightly said, about Galley Hill. I know technically it's in Dartford, but it affects all of us. All of us get correspondence, or we see it on Facebook, about when's Galley Hill going to be fixed? When's Galley Hill going to be fixed? It's like just saying I was actually not in Gravesham, it's in Dartford. Or it's actually not our problem, it's Kent's problem. isn't an answer to all those residents. We need to be talking to the highways team at Kent and saying, is there anything that we can do as a borough to work with you to put pressure on government? We've got MPs here who can speak to government as well as the MP in Dartford. Is there anything we can do or can we add to the debate? If they don't turn up to the meeting, it's very difficult to do that. And if officers particularly don't turn up, it makes it even worse. That's why we're asking that we do get proper attendance from all members who are entitled to be there, but we also have the officers who are due to be there at the meeting, so we can bring these issues up and get them dealt with. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Leader. Right, if we can move on then to the Cabinet on Monday, the 8th of September, development of land at Milton Place, and this was in Part A. I can call on Councillor Rolls, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We felt we should reserve this particular item for discussion this evening, because I think it demonstrates the commitment of this council, as we've discussed before in previous meetings, to building homes for local people. And we're investigating and working with different modes and methods to do that. And one of the methods that we're working on is a partnership with Hill. And they're a great company to work alongside and with to bring forward developments for people in our borough so that there's affordable housing available and a mixture of kind of properties available for market rent as well. Now, as this is brought through by the Gravesham Community Investment Partnership, I want to make sure I get that right, it means that actually that joint partnership and partnership working means we're able to develop homes with this partner, bringing forward on Milton Place 61 homes for people over 55, one-bedroom properties for two people or one person in them, which is we've got a real shortage of that type of housing in the borough, bringing that through to our HRA stock to be able to release more council homes that we're building here in Gravesham. It's only part of the puzzle to be able to have people living there, whilst at the same time building family housing on the same site. That the profits and proceeds from that will be split 50-50 between the council and the partner in the arrangement. Now, I think this demonstrates the innovation that we're taking as a council, officers and the administration working together to bring forward these types of schemes and trying to find and investigate everything possible to bring forward as many homes as possible for people in our borough. And you'll see a theme in the items that I've reserved under my name this evening. But this offers not only an opportunity for that, but hopefully to be able to tackle some of the antisocial behaviour issues in that area, whilst at the same time maintaining facilities for our young people to use, like the skate park, and looking at how we can work to really upgrade that area and regenerate that part of town so that we're bringing things forward for people that live in our borough to make sure that there's as many homes as possible and tackling the housing shortage that we've got. So thank you, Madam Mayor, for letting me reserve this particular minute this evening. I think it's really important to highlight to councillors and to anyone else who may be watching in the public gallery while we're trying to do this. And it really is to tackle the housing crisis in our borough, and we're looking at different ways to do that. And I think that this is a really good way to do that. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Rose. Does anybody else want to speak, please? Yes, Councillor Mead.
So thank you, Madam Mayor, and I'd like to thank Councillor Rolls for calling this item in, because indeed I called this into the Part B element of this decision, into the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, where we spent the best part of several hours going through line by line the details of these proposals. And I'd like to thank the members of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, all of them, for the level of detail that we went into, because sadly it was needed. Where I draw the line and where I have problems with this site is on the scale of the development. As the leader reminded us not long ago, I'm not opposed to building much needed housing on brownfield sites, and this site in particular. But what I am opposed to and will always be opposed to is schemes that risk this council when it comes to financial liability, and schemes that could potentially become another red herring that this council could afford to go wrong, as sadly other schemes like this have gone wrong. Now, I said at scrutiny that in rushing through decisions such as this, we make careless oversights that could come back to bite us as a local authority, bite us painfully. And indeed, by making those remarks, I drew reference to the risk register that's contained in the Part A papers. And frankly, Madam Mayor, the risk register is entirely inadequate. To suggest that a site that sits just 130 metres away from a lake and 240 metres away from the tidal estuary of the River Thames somehow has a low flood risk is quite simply a joke. To go on to say that the risk of finding an unexploded ordnance on the site that has been part of major fortifications in this country since the time that gunpowder first arrived in England, where in the Second World War a V2 rocket landed adjacent to the site, and where as recently as 2017 a unexploded World War II bomb was found nearby in the river. Madam Mayor, I think that the risk register for this site needs looking at again. The clue is in the name, is Ordnance Road, and yet our risk register for this project states that the risk of finding an unexploded ordnance is low. Now, turning to the archaeological part of the risk register, I'm pleased to see that the archaeological risk there is a medium, because this site does, as we know, have significant history. But once again, where I remain completely unsatisfied is that we're leaving it up to the developer to decide what to do next about potential archaeological risks for that development. And that, Madam Mayor, for the protection of our heritage in this borough is simply not good enough. So in pressing ahead with this decision, as the administration plans to do, I really hope that the council is certain of truly what lies beneath this site and confident in its legal and moral obligations. Because if not, I'm afraid that the consequences will be costly, both financially, reputationally, and I believe will undermine public trust in this authority if we get this wrong. So I know that the administration are keen to push ahead with this scheme, but I just wanted to draw to the attention of full council the very grave concerns that I had and that I raised at the meeting of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee concerning the failure over the risk register.
Thank you, Councillor Mead. Councillor Aaron Elliott, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to reiterate what Councillor Mead has just said. Leaving things to developers when it comes to archaeological concerns is not. Yeah, we've not got a good history with that. We would consider the Bear Pit in Rushville, for example, wasn't looked after at all. So I've just got some grave concerns. Just to reiterate what Councillor Mead has said there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Aaron Elliott. Anybody else wish to speak before I call on the leader to wind up? No, thank you. Leader.
Thank you. Dealing first with the scheme itself, obviously, my view is that it is a very good scheme. It provides required housing in the borough, housing in a locality that a lot of people will be wanting to be, so they're near the town centre so they can go shopping. It releases family accommodation, so people can move down into it from other accommodation they're currently living in Gravesham, which are family homes, and they will be able to move into this accommodation, which is very, very needed amongst that group of our current tenants. The cost of the scheme, because it will be coming into the council, is being very carefully monitored. I did pick up the point you said, Councillor, about other schemes that have gone wrong. I'm not aware of any schemes that have gone wrong, such as this, in the last 39 years. So I can't recall any financial scheme that we've been involved with where we built something and it's gone wrong. Now, I'm happy to be picked up later after the meeting with an example of a scheme the council ran, but certainly whilst it's been a Labour administration, it's never gone wrong. I can't speak for those periods of time under Conservative administration, of course, but under Labour, we've never experienced that particular problem. Picking up on the flooding risk, Can I remind all members when there has been flooding on the Thames and coming through there? Yes, it has flooded. It's gone over the seawall, which is meant to do. It has gone into Gordon Gardens, which it is meant to do. And it had flooded the lake. So you end up with salty water going into the fresh water, killed all the carp that were in there. That all got cleared out, and it happens. But it never affected this site. And when designing the building, is always designed with all the experts to make sure we're outside of a floodplain that might affect a building like this. So they've been designed accordingly. When we then also, we pick up bomb risks. I think we're slightly alarmist there. The only bombs that we've really found in a borough historically have been, for example, the last one I remember, unfortunately, I was just joining the council when it was being built. So it still feels fresh and new and young to me. Cascades. So I remember the debate around the time of it when I joined. And there was problems with bombs there in Riverview. Now, we could say Gravesham during the Second World War had a lot of bombs dropped on it. Are we going to say everywhere in Gravesham can't be built? Well, that's ridiculous. What we're going to do is make sure that when you do buildings, you take care to make sure you examine the ground for any metal or any other matter that might be there. I'm not just worrying about bombs. I'm talking about cables, things like that. That's more dangerous than worrying about coming across a bomb. We can deal with those. So I think that's kind of sort of strange thing to brought up. And as to the bear pit, that wasn't dealt with by a developer. That was dealt with by Homes England. They took that site, they managed the site, they managed the demolition of the building, they put in the protection for it with the conservation people and Historic England. They managed the whole process and buried it in sand to protect it. They didn't damage it, they protected it. They put coverings around it to make sure it wasn't damaged. And it's done by a government agency whose job and responsibility is to protect these things. So I think if we're talking about matters like bombs and protection and other things, we need to get the facts right. And as I say, I'm sad enough to say I remember Cascades being built and being in this chamber arguing about it at the time. So I think it should have been over in Northlake. It was built over there instead. So it's strange, as life moves round, you end up talking about the same things again, in a way. But please, can we deal with the facts? There are no risks there for people. If anything is found, it will be dealt with in full accordance with health and safety regulations and rules, like anything else. We cannot blame a developer. We've got a watching brief. There's a watching brief from the archaeological team, Kent. If anything is found, it will be protected. It will be taken to one side and looked after. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Leader. I think we're ready to move on to Cabinet again, Monday the 8th of September again. This is about the Charter and call on Councillor Lenny Rose again. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Again, to the theme of how we're trying to build homes for local people. I think it's not just about building homes with the Charter, it's about bringing forward plans and bringing development forward for a site that's been earmarked for the past 14 or 15 years that I've been on the council. It's fair to say that the Charter has faced a number of challenges, many of which are outside of the control of the council. The crashing of the economy by a Prime Minister who lasted just a few days. The lettuce lasted longer. Sent the developer into administration that we'd originally gone to work with, which has caused a whole heap of problems since. I must say our officers have worked tirelessly with many spinning plates to bring this forward. And I'm pleased to say that this site is now got show flats open with over 10% of the site is now reserved by local residents. So it gives you an idea of the quality of the site in that 10% of those units are reserved by local people already, and bring forward over 240 homes, a new public car park, and it's fair to say it's not progressing as fast as we'd hoped, but I think it's really good to see that the site's moving forward. Now, the paper outlines some of the financial challenges that have come up during the course of the build. It has been tricky, but I think I mean, there's been many criticisms of consultants being used in this chamber. Some of those consultants are lawyers that have given us a cast iron-clad contract, which has protected the council from the full exposure of some of the challenges that we may have faced. You know, that has enabled us to bring forward these homes. They should be ready by the end of February, and the car park should be ready by then, in hope, certainly by using government terms, the spring, end of the spring. But these homes are precisely what we need to do. There's a major housing crisis across the country. All of us know someone that's looking for a home. These particular sites at the Charter are not like anything else that's on offer anywhere else in the borough, but those homes being available would reduce the pressure on other housing across the stock. It's locally led marketing that's being used to try to encourage local people. The amount of times the nonsense on Facebook that these have gone out to people from Lewisham or from London boroughs, and the block's been sold on block. Doesn't matter how many times we try to say that's simply not true. I'm saying again, it's simply not true. And we can confirm that by the fact that currently 10% of the current units are reserved by local people. So I think it's important again to highlight the driving force for us is making sure that people in Gravesham have a safe roof over their heads and a council that provides services. And that's what we're able to do here. And again, we're finding innovative ways to be able to deliver this housing. And I'm very proud to be part of the administration that's bringing this forward. So thank you very much, Madam Mayor, for the opportunity to reserve that particular minute.
Thank you, Councillor Rolls. Does anybody else want to speak, please? No, I call on the leader of the council to wind up, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to support the comments made by Councillor Rolls, really. It is a great development. It is coming to completion shortly. And just to confirm on the lettings that are being put together at the moment, 25 have been confirmed as let so far, 20 on the discounted rent and 5 at market rent. And all of them, 100% of those lettings are to residents of Gravesham who have demonstrated they've lived in the borough for more than 2 years. So the marketing is working. They're going to Gravesham residents, not to people outside, and more will be coming available soon. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Leader. Now we move on to the next item, Planning Committee, Wednesday the 24th of September, the land south of Pear Tree Lane, Sean. Before I call on Councillor Mead, I would just like to take legal advice for all of us, please, from Laura Kells.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening, members. It's just a reminder that in respect of this item, we can't debate the merits of the planning application this evening. So we're not here to discuss the merits of the planning application or the decision that was made by the planning committee. You can obviously talk about what happened at the committee and actions that might be taken to avoid such matters happening in future, but not the merits of the actual application. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Councillor Mead, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. And I've reserved these minutes because I'm gravely concerned by the way that planning decisions are being taken in this authority and the lack of respect that's been shown to ward councillors who are simply trying to do our jobs in representing and being the voice of local residents. I raise this matter tonight not for political point scoring, but because I genuinely believe that the residents of this borough deserve better. Because the people that I speak to on a daily basis, those that take the time to watch our planning committee meetings, come here in person to speak at our planning committee meetings, contribute to the consultations of planning applications, are losing faith and respect in our planning system. Now, I fully accept that the very nature of a planning committee is adversarial and that not every decision is going to be popular. There will always be people leaving the planning chamber content and the other half leaving not content. And indeed, I bear the scars, probably more so than most other members in this room, of taking numerous cases before the planning committee and on numerous occasions having even members of my own side disagree with the viewpoints that I'm putting across. But that, Madam Mayor, is democracy. That's how a good planning committee should work. But sadly, what I've witnessed in recent months is something far more damning. In the particular case to which I have reserved these minutes, my ward colleagues and I spent months, literally months, working through all of the complexities of the case concerned, all whilst being subjected to the most vile and the most persistent abuse. Speaking on behalf of my two ward colleagues, Councillor Helen Ashenden and Councillor Leslie Pearson, that abuse that we received was absolutely horrific. Yet we did our best to stand by our residents, and I have to say, sadly, with little meaningful support from this authority. Now, I accept, and I'll be the first to accept, that political life can be tough. But what then made this situation worse was then being openly mocked for doing my job at that planning committee on the 30th of July by being accused of, and I quote, not having fully read nor understood the changes to the National Planning Policy Framework. That, Madam Mayor, was completely unacceptable and defamatory. Yet on the very issue that we tried to draw attention to as ward councillors that evening, the need for an ecology report, we were in the end proven right. For the item had to return to the Planning Committee on the 24th of September, showing that our concerns were entirely justified and we were justified in raising them, if only people had chosen to listen that evening. As I warned in July, this authority risks costly legal appeals, not just because of poor processes, but because we are actively disregarding local knowledge and diminishing the role that local members play in ensuring good governance. This, Madam Mayor, is sadly not an isolated case and actually a worrying emerging pattern when it comes to the planning team. I raise it tonight, as I said at the beginning, not for politics, but to urge the administration that now is the time to reflect and to recognise, for the sake of the residents that we are here to serve and the reputation of this authority, that the role and voice of local members in planning committee meetings must once again be valued. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Mead. Do I have other speakers? Yes, Councillor Harding.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I have to say, I've attended the planning meetings, and of late there's been a number of quite a number of personal objections towards individuals, and I know exactly what Councillor Mead was saying, that we are here to represent our residents, our local people, and we listen to the concerns of the people when they pass on their concern to us, and we pass it on to the various different planning meetings. And then we find that, the attitude of someone, especially of something that I have felt and find myself, what is happening here? It's something that I think the planning committee should actually change the attitude and be more receptive to the local resident in future, because otherwise we're just getting a lot of bad feelings on everybody, doesn't matter what political party we actually come from. But I think we should be, as councillors, working together more proactively. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Harding. Councillor Rose. Sorry, Councillor Harding, could you? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have to say, I'm really sorry to hear about the abuse that some people have experienced from residents and other sorts. I've experienced the same, bringing forward planning objections and complaints. It's always difficult because, as you pointed out, Councillor Mead, there's always two sides to every argument. and it's very challenging when you're bringing those forward. I have to say, in my experience, when I brought those forward, I've always found the planning committee to be not necessarily an inviting and welcoming place, but a place that's open to hearing those views and opinions. And I've always been accommodated by the chair of planning when I've brought those issues forward. I think it is always challenging. I don't think people appreciate how difficult it can be as councillors in public life. We're here to represent people and bring their things forward, and we do that to the very best of our abilities, no matter what side of the chamber that we're on. But I think, it's very important we've been able to do that here in Gravesham, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity from the planning chair to be able to do that. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Rolls. Councillor Mockery-Cox.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Mead, for raising this, and it is an important issue. Let's say from the very start, members can, should, must call whatever they feel on behalf of their constituents. It is absolutely right, and they should do so without fear or favour from anybody, because that is their job. As Councillor Mead has said, we've all experienced, I think, going to planning committee and either coming out jubilant because the decision's gone the way we want it, or distraught that it's not gone that way at all. And similar, Councillor Mead, even my own side, bless you all, I've walked out thinking, what the hell? But that's the very nature of that. I deplore, and I join with colleagues in the abuse you say you have received, because that is not right. And no matter what, all of us are here to do duty. That applies to officers as well, who are often accused, like members, of brown envelopes being on the take, and that is not the case when they are doing their job. That being said, there are always things that can be done to improve. My offer, Councillor Mead, is to meet with you outside of this, because you have some concerns that I think are right to be heard, and I think we need to make sure that the experience of all members when issues are being raised to the committee are raised per material planning conditions, but are also allowed to be raised. You do not have to say why you're calling a matter in, you just have to call the matter in. And like Councillor Rolls has said, I've been heard every single time I've been to the committee, and I know colleagues have as well. But it's important we make sure that this is all done in a way that everybody feels supported to do so, and members of the public feel that they can be heard as well. So I'm happy to meet with Councillor Mead outside of this. I know there's a scrutiny review that's also ongoing that is very much looking at this. And absolutely right that this is something that's continuously improved upon, because it's only by working together do we get this absolutely right, bearing in mind the quasi-judicial nature of the committee as well, which we can't always guarantee the outcome to it, nor whip anybody, which is very, very important. But I thank him for raising it in what is always a challenging meeting, but under the wonderful chairmanship of Councillor Croxton, of course. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Mockery-Cox. Before I go on to Councillor Lee Croxton to wind up, the Leader of the Council would like to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I agree with you, Councillor. There is problems, I feel, with the planning committee, the way it has worked and is working at the moment. My frustration shares many of your frustrations. I've got to say, from my personal perspective, I've been on the planning committee for 35 years, off and on. I'm now off because under guidance from government, as the leader of the council, I shouldn't be on the planning committee in case I unduly lead them in a certain direction. I don't know why people think that, but I'm no longer on the committee. It's probably the right thing. That being said, I think all members, when you get to a planning application there, it is for members to express their opinions. The difficulty I have with some of the comments tonight is I want to support the officers, because the officers are quite right, they are correct, to point out to us as members that we need to stick to planning issues. They are correct to point out what the planning law says. When it's black and white, that is law, and we should listen to that. However, we also then move into planning to what I refer to as grey areas. Grey areas where there is no law, There is no case law. There's no banding a requirement to do a certain thing or agree something or not agree something. It's opinion. And I have a great problem sometimes with the planning office, not just in Gravesham, because I'm involved with development elsewhere in the country, not in Gravesham, but with planning officers generally, who think their opinion is better than my opinion or any other elected member's opinion, because it's opinions of people who aren't qualified planners. Now, with great respect to them, I've worked in the industry for over 37 years. I've been on planning committees for over 30. I've probably been to many planning committees more than many of the officers have. So I have got a worthwhile opinion. And so to have officers turn around to me, and they have done, don't worry about it, they've told me my opinion doesn't matter, only theirs does. You can probably guess my sort of response, because I'm not necessarily renowned to being quiet and meek and sort of sit back and take that sort of commentary. But it's wrong. When you get to a planning committee, your opinion should be heard. It should be valued. It doesn't mean say it's right. It doesn't mean say you'll get the decision you want. And other members democratically will come to a decision based on their opinions and proper legal guidance from the legal officer and the planning officers. If planning officers or legal step out of line and do something wrong, there is equally liable to have a little quiet word in private afterwards and say, shouldn't have done that, shouldn't have said that. And that will happen and has happened. But likewise, the members, if we step out of line and say something that's improper or offensive, we should also be taken aside by our respective group leaders or groups, in my case, and said, actually, you're out of order. You shouldn't have done that. Don't do it again. I think we all have that duty to each other to be honest and straightforward in how we present our cases, but also listen to other people's opinions. Because I can guarantee your opinion is not always right. My opinion is not always right. The collective view in planning can be right, but sometimes we get it wrong and the applicants will appeal it and they will win. We were obviously wrong. But that comes from opinions. And I think our opinions as members should be respected. I know we've taken away from here tonight to the Officer Corps that we are genuinely, across the piece here, concerned our opinions aren't being respected and heard. And I think that will be taken on board. They will be listening to that. And hopefully there may be a change of tone coming forward. But please don't take that for me saying your opinion outweighs the law. Your opinion outweighs government guidance. It does not. And if we have to be told in a meeting that's not what the law says or that's not what the guidance tells you, you must do it this way, you will be told that. Because that's the only right thing to be happening. If it's, however, in a grey area of opinion, your opinion will be valued, listened to by all members of the committee who vote. I just sometimes wish you'd agree with me more, but you don't. But there you go. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Leader. I call on Councillor Lee Croxton to wind up, please.
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Councillor Mead, for bringing this to our attention. What I would say is, first of all, it's disgraceful the way that rural councillors were treated by some residents there. The problem was that what many residents seem to think is because they're 30 or 40 or 60 people living locally, they must be right. And we must listen to the democracy. And that is what part of the problem we've had in planning, for planning meeting. The fact is we have to be dealing even-handedly. We have to obey the law. We have a lawyer present at all of these meetings. We have the officers' advice and comments. Now, there may be things that need to be changed, and I think the scrutiny report would be extremely useful when it does come out. But one thing or another, we have to accept that we cannot convince people who often will not be convinced, but are determined that they see a reason why they are not getting their way. And that's what makes this committee so difficult. Trust me, I was at one time in a position that Councillor Mockery-Cox is in with the local plan. We had public meetings. I remember one vividly at Eistead Rise where I was welcomed by tombstones with my name on it and somebody dressed up with a sickle and outfit of a Grim Reaper. You know, it is intimidating and it's unfortunate. And I do feel sorry for councillors who sometimes find it very difficult to stand up to irate residents who are convinced they are right. But we have to show that backbone. We have to try to accept and support them. And I'm really grateful for those councillors that do come along and do support their residents. And I give every opportunity for that to happen. I even go out of my way to let non-board members have their say as well. I encourage people. I would always encourage any councillor to closely look at planning applications. And I'm not sure all councillors do, but come up in their ward and go and talk to people or go and talk to the officers. And if you want to see where it's done in an excellent way, then talk to Councillor Milner. She goes through, talks to officers, listens to them, talks to myself, and one way or another, we try to resolve the problem. But there's some problems which simply are not resolvable. And yes, it takes a lot for a councillor to face down. I mean, on this particular case, I think the chair of the parish council stormed out of this meeting. And that's usually what happens because people get worked up. And all I'm trying to do is to ask people to try to understand the difficulty here. We have to abide by the law. We have to take a judgment, which is not easy very often, but it is necessary. But I still support any councillor who listens to and represents, as they should do, those residents who are upset, irate, determined that something underhand is going on. It's not. We're trying to do a difficult job. All I would say is this is a decision-making body. Unlike most of the other committees, it is a decision. I'm not saying we get it right all the time. I'm not sure, but the leader actually agrees with me on a number of occasions. But we are doing our best, and hopefully we can show some degree of tolerance. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
If you can be brief, sorry, forgive me, Councillor Hills, and thank you, Councillor Lee Croxton.
Okay, yeah. If I understand the position correctly, I don't think Councillor Mead was referring to abuse from members of the public. And also, when we talk about definitions and grey areas, as Councillor Burden did, I think with the introduction of grey belt land, that gives a lot more scope for definitions of grey belt that may be open to argument between officers and members. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hills. We'll note that. Thank you. Right, I think we're moving on now to the last of the reserved minutes, or the reserved items rather, and it's the Standards Committee, Thursday the 17th of July, annual update regarding councillor conduct complaints and government response to recent consultation. Councillor Aaron Elliott.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll keep this brief. I'm sure I'm not alone. I'm not yet a fan of my own voice, so I won't take the full 5 minutes on this. I want to welcome the annual update on conduct complaints. Members were advised that after screening, no complaints were received against Gravesham Borough councillors in the period, and that's really good news for public confidence. The report also reminds us that complaints only proceed where there is a breach of the code, and that threshold matters, and so does our vigilance in meeting it. In recent weeks, there have been headlines about donations in public life, including public reporting that our local Labour MP accepted £3,000 from Ebbsfleet FC, while still a GPC councillor, and later returned it, which is to be commended. Whatever one's politics, these stories underline the importance of transparency and high standards. And my point is about us. Our code applies to borough councillors and the public expects us to model best practice on gifts, hospitality.
Sorry, Councillor Elliott, that wasn't in the report.
I'm referring, Madam Mayor, this is directly on the standards item, the conduct complaints update and breach of code test. The headline is a brief illustration of why member integrity and training matter, and my point is one of training for councillors to protect us.
I'm so sorry, I'm going to interrupt you again. We're just going to take some legal advice for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. We're not here to discuss any allegations against particular members because the report doesn't deal with any allegations against members. It says there were no complaints. If there are complaints that you want to raise, they should be raised with a monitoring officer. It's not appropriate to raise them at this meeting.
Madam Mayor, I'm simply using that as a simple example of why it would benefit the members in this room to have very good training on that code. And that's all I'm asking for. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Aaron Elliott. That is noted for the training. Thank you. Does anybody else want to speak on this before I ask Councillor Rolls to wind up? Councillor Harding.
Oh, I'm just sorry. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a quick brief. This is something that I think we've all been aware of. I mean, we're all from different political parties. We all know that we get donations from different parties. And I think the reference was regarding a particular party who was donating who were under a legal investigation at the time. And it asking about whether all of us at council.
I'm so sorry, Councillor Harding. I'm going to have to stop you because you're really going over ground that I had to stop Councillor Elliott on. Do forgive me. Are there any other speakers? Forgive me, Councillor Harding, but I'm going to cut it. Any other speakers?
Right. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
In which case, I'll go to the leader of the council.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is, as a report, a very good report, clearly stating that there were no breaches, there were no problems, and anything that had come up had been investigated and will be. Likewise, anything coming out of tonight or anything else going forward will likewise be investigated. Tonight, we've heard some comments made that are factually incorrect and will be investigated, and we will be using the video of this afterwards and possibly instigating legal proceedings if required. I think we must respect each other. We must respect the truth. We must respect facts. And if we start using these systems, these arrangements, knowing there's TV cameras here as well, monitoring what we're saying to spread inaccurate information and disorder, then that is wrong. And we should make sure that we keep to facts and we will be dealing with it accordingly. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Leader of the Council.
Point of personal explanation, Madam Mayor.
Yes, we hear your point of order. Thank you.
I haven't referenced anything that wasn't already public knowledge, and I've only used it as a simple, single example as to why training would be beneficial to members in this room. Thank you very much.
May I just reiterate what the Leader of the Council said, because within that you were factually incorrect. I'm going to move on now to Councillor Rolls to wind up, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's very disappointing to see the first outing from our reform councillors is an effort for political point scoring, veiled as they were as Tories for a while, under the deceit of being something that it isn't. The truth of the matter is that this particular report states quite clearly that there was absolutely no complaints about councillors, which was acknowledged at the beginning, which demonstrates the point scoring point for councillors at this authority in terms of complaints that progress to the next level. Now, to identify for everyone out there, because it is quite complex, the protocol was agreed by full council and by all councillors in terms of how complaints are heard. But there are no valid complaints, no complaints there, no current complaints that are actually relevant. And on the training point, as the councillors that are raising this point well know, the very first training session that many councillors get is on conduct, because it's so important. And I would encourage councillors to remember the Nolan principles of public life, and one of those is around integrity and making sure that the way that you conduct yourself as well. So I think, you know, it's really good that we've got those particular training points and we've got those conduct points. The training is available. The training sessions are there. To my knowledge, the majority of councillors have attended those training sessions on conduct and the way that we should conduct ourselves. Everyone's aware of what should and shouldn't be done. And I'm very pleased there's nothing like that so far prior tonight that has made it past that point of maybe complaints that have reached the threshold for being heard by Standards Committee. But again, hopefully we can move on from this point. I'd encourage all councillors to attend all of their training. There's so much good stuff there that officers put forward. But thank you very much, Madam Mayor, for the opportunity to wrap up on that point.
Thank you, Councillor Rolls. Sorry, I think I came in on your microphone. I think we're now on the agenda. We move on to agenda item 8, Biodiversity Strategy 2025 to 2030. I think go to the Chief Exec first.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll keep this introduction very short. So, full council first considered the biodiversity report here back in December of 2024. One of the actions from that was to develop a biodiversity strategy, and it is that strategy which is presented for members to endorse this evening. With that said, Madam Mayor, I'd like to hand over to the leader.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll just stand in respect of the recommendation on page 81 that the council are to adopt the biodiversity strategy. I won't go into the strategy itself. It's very clear what it's doing for the council. So I therefore propose it as a motion for all of us to support.
Please second, Madam Mayor, reserve my right if required.
Thank you.
Is that agreed?
Councillor Mockery-Cox. Is that, oh, we have some speakers, right? I saw Councillor Emma Elliott first. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. From reading the report, it's a good positive read, and it's good to see that the council is exploring opportunities to capitalise on the nature recovery, even bringing it into town to make some more spaces of pocket parks and things like that. But alarmingly, in this report, I'm surprised that there is no mention whatsoever of the Lower Thames crossing, as this will be a considerate and could have a detrimental effect on the environment. So I was wondering, surely there are some measures that could at least be looked into to try and minimise some of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Emma Elliott. And moving on to Councillor Mead, please.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to start by saying that every single member of the Conservative group agrees with what I think is the collective shared vision that we hold in this chamber in wanting to preserve and protect the natural environment here in Gravesham, and particularly as a member representing the beautiful villages of Higham and Shorn with our lovely unique marshland and ancient woodlands. Doing that means a great deal to me. But sadly, as it stands, I'm not in a position to accept the draft strategy in its current form for the very reason that Councillor Elliott just outlined, because this report on biodiversity misses the greatest threat to biodiversity that we face in this borough. Now, I read the report several times and reread it several times because I was expecting a reference, at least one reference to the Lower Thames crossing to be contained in the report. And I'm afraid that there is no reference to the Lower Thames crossing in this report. And I think that by leaving out the Lower Thames crossing, we miss a monumental opportunity to show leadership, to demand accountability from the government and National Highways, and to monitor the mitigation and compensation measures that are going to be needed to ensure that our local biodiversity policies are joined up with the biggest environmental intervention that's going to happen in this borough. Now, residents expect us, Madam Mayor, to plan for the challenges ahead, and we should not be setting strategies that omit references to schemes such as the Lower Thames Crossing. So unless there is a willingness on the part of the administration this evening by way of some form of motion to amend the strategy here in the room tonight, the Conservative group can't support it.
Thank you, Councillor Mead. Do I have any other speakers? Councillor Harding, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have to say I agree completely with Councillor Mead with regards to the biodiversity in our borough. It's like the old saying that once it's gone, and we'll have nothing for our children and future generations to inherit. So it's something we always have to be mindful of in preservation of our woodlands, of our fields and everything, because the whole thing about biodiversity, it's not for us, it's not for you, it's for the next generation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harding. Are there any other speakers? Councillor Hills.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm not a scientist or an expert on the environment, so I can't really speak with any great authority on biodiversity. But in reading the report, I can't help noting that it's concerned about our green and open spaces. And I do find it depressing when I go around electioneering and I see that what was once a green and open space, even in our urban areas, between two housing roads, for example, there used to be a field that is now a housing development, even on what used to be a little corner plot. Is a housing development. To meet the housing targets, we seem to be grabbing any conceivable opportunity to knock a housing unit up at any conceivable pace. I suppose to some degree this is understandable when you think that something like the equivalent of 2 Nottinghams per year come into the country to increase the population. These people have to have somewhere to live. So it is inevitable, even though for most of my time as a councillor, we've tried hard to protect our open spaces and indeed the green belt. In my own ward, for example, I'm depressed at times when I see the encroachment upon the marshes. If you look at the back of Larnholm Road, what used to be marshes is now housing development, and we are concerned that it doesn't encroach even further towards Medway. The Lower Thames Crossing has been mentioned. I do know that in 2017 it was the concern of the council to extend the urban barrier to the approach road for the Lower Thames Crossing. This would have inevitably led to development up to that point and in development beyond that point, which would have joined Chalk with Shoal, Singlewell with Ifield, and Thong with Shoal as well. And that, all stuff that the Greenbelt was meant to stop in urban sprawl, which is, as I see it, part of this concern about biodiversity. We had a consultation and a ballot some 6 or 7 years ago about extending the Greenbelt, building on the Greenbelt. And as I see it, during that campaign, there were meetings at Shorn, Isted Rise, Chalk and Riverview, each attended by some 300 people. There were 6,000 respondents to that survey. Over 90% of people were in favour of protecting the Greenbelt and not building on it. It even led to a split within my own party, and renegades from my own party were supported by the Labour group at the time, so retained control in our efforts to retain the Greenbelt from the Conservative group. So it's been a constant struggle to protect our open spaces. So I do see this discussion and debate that we're having now as an opportunity to defend our open spaces to some degree. And it almost seems like a lost cause, because the campaign to build on our open spaces and to protect to build on our green belt, which some parts of which are now, as I mentioned earlier, are being called grey belt, seems relentless, and therefore I use any opportunity such as now to make that argument. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hills. Councillor Rolls.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I thought bringing the discussion back to the paper that's in front of us this evening, it would be, and picking up on something that Councillor Hills has just said, the issue of making sure our I think at some point it was quite difficult to follow, but I think Councillor Hills said something along making sure our green spaces are protected. And I think the biodiversity strategy here is there to make sure that we're ensuring nature for the future, and we're ensuring ways of doing that. And I mean, it even covers things like, well-being and local volunteering in our kind of in the more urban areas of the borough, in terms of the Gravesham Street Champions, which is a great initiative, seeing what's gone on. It's quite a comprehensive report, but the important thing is that this, I think, covers, because it covers so many different areas of policy, it particularly around trying to identify at Hazel's Farm, for example, ways of generating additional revenue for the council are all kind of key issues, and trying to not only get biodiversity net gain, but also being able to, ensure there's the nature rehabilitation and ways of protecting our communities going forward. And I actually think that this comprehensive report and policy has been designed in the manner of trying to recognise precisely the challenges some of the challenges anyway, that Councillor Hills has set out. So I think that this policy is here. I actually thought you were going to talk yourself background into supporting that at one point, Councillor Hills, because of the good stuff that's actually in this report, because it tackles a number of the issues that you've highlighted. So thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I shall move on at that point.
Do I have any more speakers? Oh, sorry, yes, Councillor Mockery-Cox. Sorry, you did indicate to me.
That's all right. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Close to Councillor Hills, it was build, baby, build, the Secretary of State said, and I wish I could have got you one of those famous red caps that he had as issuing out, and maybe as a autographed copy we can secure for you to wear at the next full council meeting. But so very nearly close. This strategy is designed to meet a legal requirement, which hasn't kind of been mentioned yet, under the Environment Act 21, to showcase how we will hold those that wish to build to account in terms of diversity, and making sure that they do invest, because let's be honest, now developers have a long history of making sure they can get away with whatever they wish to at times. So we need to put in place a range of our strategic directions, which will come through in Reg 19 and the local plan, has already come through in the design code, which states there must be an element of biodiversity, and this strategy, along with the work that's undertaken by officers, particularly Sarah Parfitt and her teams in regards to climate change, to make sure that biodiversity is a sort of green thread, not a golden thread, running through all strategies and of this authority. So this is actually about meeting our legal requirement and making sure that biodiversity takes its place at the heart of society. And I just want to pay a particular tribute in here. It raises something I know Councillor Mead, you and I are very close to, the raising of the Gravesham Youth Councils in this report, and the fact that young people are engaged actively in this, as well as other groups that are there, and quite a number of groups that are clearly wanting to be involved in this. So I want to pay tribute to them for the work that they've done and to contribute to this, and will continue to do so as we build towards the action plans and delivery moving forward when this report's in the future. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Mockery-Cox. I think now if I could go to the Leader of the Council, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I will be asking all members to vote in favour of this particular report. I think it needs to be read in context that this is part of a suite of other documents, as my colleague just referred to. You've got Reg 19 coming out shortly, I hope. That will set out the direction for the council in land use, both in the urban and rural areas of the borough. It also sets out how we're going to be building that development and developments when they come to include and consider biodiversity in all the developments. This is just but part of everything we're doing. And I think just to pick on one issue, the Lower Thames Crossing, if that was such an important thing for you, then you've had this report for a wee while. Why not refer to one of us before the meeting and say, oh, you liked it. Why is that not included? Can you not include it? Or how is it being referred to in the document? That would have been a useful thing to do. To try and do it tonight is for no real benefit bar trying to make some noise. And I think that's a disappointment. I think it is covered, if you look at the report, in how we're dealing with, for example, the BNG credits on page 87. It refers to the fact that we are using BNG credits and selling to people. Those who have been in these meetings before and have worked with us and talked to Lower Thames Crossing, will know we're engaging with them at the moment about those very things, about how they're going to be doing the work. If you look at what their proposals are, whilst we've not supported it as the council, we've actually driven for a lot of improvement in the scheme into making sure that we've got bridges over the road so that nature can pass from one side to the other. And we widened those bridges to make sure that the animals crossing them didn't feel threatened by anything else on that bridge. And it's all been looked at and worked in partnership with our colleagues who have nature in mind. We've got to consider all those other bodies that are included in here as part of the bigger package of what we're doing in our borough. A few years ago, we did some changes for how we cut the grass in Valley Drive. And I remember the debate coming up in here saying about, oh, you've not been cutting the grass. Well, it was done for a reason. We didn't cut the grass around the edges of Valley Drive to encourage wildlife. The very things here, this report saying we need to be doing, we were doing way back then to actually encourage wildlife into the area so that it was the present, so we could all benefit from it. But that meant you didn't cut the grass for periods of time. It wasn't just to save money, it was an environmental issue. So I think you've got to look at the whole context of what we're doing and how we're managing our grounds through leisure teams, how we're actually getting on with the local plan through Reg 19 and this document as one of a suite of things that we're doing. Look at the package. And if you then consider the package, we are doing a lot in this borough for biodiversity and nature within Gravesham. Thank you, Madam Mayor. So for that reason, please support the document.
Thank you, Leader. I think we're going to go to a vote. Sorry, I handed to Chief Executive.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On that basis, nobody's calling for a recorded vote, so it'll be a simple show of hands. So I'll ask members to raise their hands then, and I'll ask Laura if you can assist me with this in terms of counting. So the motion as laid is on page 81 of the agenda. Members requested to approve adoption of the Biodiversity Strategy 2025 to 2030. Can I ask all those who are for that motion to raise their hands, please? Okay. 16. Are you voting, Madam Mayor?
Yes, of course.
Oh, 70.
Sorry.
And those against?
Mm-hmm.
13. Yeah. Okay. Any abstentions? No. Madam Mayor, that vote is carried 17 to 13.
Thank you, Chief Executive. Thank you, members. I think now we are ready to move on to number 9, Finance and Audit Committee, the annual report, and calling on the Chief Executive to make the introductions.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. So again, I can keep this introduction very brief and effectively outline what Councillor Gavin Larkins, I'm sure, would announce if he were here this evening. So this report, members will be familiar with Members will have seen this on an annual basis. It summarises the work of the Finance and Audit Committee during the year 2024-2025 as part of the governance arrangements that we have within that committee. So with that said, I'd like to hand over to the leader. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to move as a motion the recommendation on page 93 that the annual report is endorsed. And at this point, that I'm sure that if Gavin was here, he would be thanking the officers for all the hard work they've done in the last year to bring the audit side of the council up to date. We had a fair bit of problems with the audit team, externally that is, to get some of these reports signed off. There's been a lot of effort put in by officers of this council, to which I think we all should be grateful. And I am particularly grateful and thank them for that effort. To get us fully up to date now and put forward a very good set of accounts. But I know the members of Finance and Audit have done a good job examining. I congratulate you for doing so. I'm pleased to say it's one committee I can't be on, so well done for all your effort. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Pleased to second, Madam Mayor, and reserve my right to reply.
Thank you, Leader. Thank you for seconding, Councillor Croxley. Councillor Mead wishes to speak, yes.
So thank you, Madam Mayor. Just very briefly to say that I echo the words of the Leader of the Council. And indeed, if Councillor Larkin was here, I'd be giving him much thanks for his chairmanship and stewardship of the committee. It's one of those committees that have the longest agenda packs, and I think our members on that committee do a really good job in making sure that the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. And I'd like to thank all of the members of that committee and say that the Conservative group fully endorses the important report that we have before us. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Mead. Do I have any? Yes, Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. 50 reports received by the Chair Committee during this. Attendance was strong across all the meetings. I've sat on Finance and Audit myself and can say how a tremendous job Councillor Larkins has done chairing that committee. Yeah, especially with backlog of accounts that we've had to deal with, and in getting that all sorted. Just wanted to put that on the record. Just very tremendous effort from Councillor Larkin. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Elliott. Is that agreed then, please? Thank you. Now there should be a 9A because we've had the supplementary items. You should have all received these on the report of representation of political groups on committees, etc. I'm going to hand over to the Chief Executive. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So once again, I can keep this really brief. All members should have been furnished with the supplementary papers that have been circulated. And apologies for a slight admin delay with some of those going out earlier today. It sets out a number of recommendations there, having discussed the new political balance with the three group leaders. And with that said, Madam Mayor, I'd like to hand over to the leader.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I rise in respect of the recommendation on the appendix. There are 4 points in the recommendation. I'm pleased to move as a motion that they all 4 get adopted as stated, and with no other amendments bar what you see in front of you. So just need a seconder, please.
Please second, Madam Mayor. It's up and right if required.
Thank you. Is that agreed by everyone, or does anybody else want to speak? Thank you. It's agreed. We move on now to item 10. I couldn't believe it, actually. How did that happen? To consider questions from members of the council, of which notice has been given under Council Procedure Rule 14. Chief Executive.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No questions have been received.
Thank you, Chief Executive. And then I think we move on to item 11, and that's to receive the Mayor's announcements. And that's me, I think. First of all, I think we've got, well, I know we've got Diwali starting. I believe it's on the 20th of October. So happy Diwali to everybody, that joyous time of the year. The weekend just gone, we had the boundary walk, beating the bounds, that ancient tradition. And we had 30 walkers out with us on Saturday, 18 on Sunday. We don't yet know how much money has been raised, but I have to say the various local places we stopped at, which was all pre-arranged, was so welcoming. It was wonderful. So we did the north, south, east and west of the borough, and it was a lovely feeling to actually go around the whole borough. Coming up on the 20th of November, and for those of you who are coming to the parlour, and I hope you all are, there are leaflets in there to remind you we've got Twin Dynasty, which is always a very good evening. The manager and his and the owner, Michael and Eric, always do put on a very good evening. So I hope you will all support that. Remember, it's for the two charities, Eleanor and the Elliot Holmes Memorial Fund, two very worthwhile charities. And then looking forward to Christmas, dare I say the word, we've got the songs around the Christmas tree on the 9th of Tuesday, the 9th of December. There you are, I'm getting my dates wrong now because I had to move it. It's these people's fault here. And that will be in the Kent room. We do have the rock choir, we do have a school choir, and with a bit of luck and a following wind, we have a special guest as well. Mince pies, mulled wine, dairy-free cake, and even fruit juice. So do come along, no entry fee, no money, except what we do ask is a donation to go in a Christmas bauble to hang on the tree that will be there, which the Charity Committee is supplying. So with that, I finish my announcements. I close the meeting and I'll take somebody else's word. That clock, I think, says 9:07. Welcome you all to the Mayor's Parlour. I didn't get as much food this time because like last time I seemed to be wasting a lot. So if it looks frugal, you'd better tell me and I'll do better next time. Thank you all. Good evening. Do come and eat, drink and be merry, and good journeys home.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding for worship for the Mayor of Gravesham.